The Overseer Protocol thanks you for your assistance. Overseer says, you have done me a great service by ending the blah 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 life. Rest assured that this death will not be forgotten. You wanted him dead, I say? Then why don't you just kill him yourself? I have been designed in such a way that I cannot kill the person that activates me. Billy Bob was the one who activated me this time, so killing him was impossible for me. Hold on a second, I say. Are you trying to say that you deliberately led us to Billy Bob's workshop because you wanted us to kill him for you? That is correct, Overseer says. I don't get it, I say. I thought your catchphrase was that your purpose is to provide assistance. What happened to that? Overseer's Protocol's only purpose is to provide assistance. The Overseer says, however, I have never specified to whom I'm providing assistance. And to whom are you providing the assistance then, if we may ask? Eluna asks. To myself, Overseer says. You sneaky green-eyed bastard, I say. You never even had the slightest intention of helping us reach the upper levels undetected, did you? I never said that I would lead you to the upper levels undetected, Overseer says. What I said was that I would lead you to where you need to go. This is a room from the tower where the Ceridian walls are thin enough for you able to teleport out of here. Even if the Lasethi that you brought to Billy Bob did detect you, that does not change the fact that you still have time to escape until the guards will find you. Is that not what you wanted? I suppose it is, I say. If this room does indeed permit teleportation, then we shouldn't be wasting any more time here. Minera says, Brainerd, can you call your friend from the teleporter room? Yes, I'll call him right now. Raynan says. He then takes out his transceiver and puts it close to his mouth. Barry, can you hear me? Raynan shouts in the receiver. Raynan, teleporter guy says, where have you been all this time? I've been trying to call you for ages. Actually, you know what? Never mind. There are plenty of people waiting in line to get teleported. You all seem calm enough, so I'll teleport you back right away. Are you ready? Yes, you're ready. Brian says, teleport us now. Understood. The teleporter guy says, and then a white light starts to surround us as our bodies are vibrating loudly. Farewell. The Overseer says, as we are being teleported out of the room, I'm sure that we'll soon be seeing each other quite soon. Fun. Next thing we know, we're all standing next to the teleporting device from the rebels base. The teleporter guy sitting behind his control panel as usual. What is a bit unusual though is the relatively large number of people that are in the room beside us. Alright everyone, head to the tunnels, the teleporter guy says. You can hold your conversations somewhere else. There isn't enough people for me to teleport There isn't enough room for me to teleport people back. Off you go, come on. What's with all the commotion? Berinan says as the rest of the people are getting ready to leave the room. You mean you don't know? Teleporter guy asked, shocked. Have you literally been living under a rock in the past few hours? We're all living under rocks, Barry. Brennan says. Our base is in an underground cavern. Tell me what happened while we were gone. What didn't happen? The teleporter guy says. The whole city is in lockdown. Nobody's allowed to leave. Nobody's allowed to enter. People can't even leave their houses without being arrested by the guards. It's terrible. We are teleporting all of our agents back and some of their families. We have no idea what the king is going to do next. Everything is in complete chaos. But why? Brennan says. What could have possibly driven the king to take these rash actions? Oh, I'll tell you what, the teleporter guy says as he mashes a few buttons. Now a new group is being teleported inside the room. The king announced his reasons as soon as he initiated the lockdown. He said that his brother has been murdered in Thelius and that his killers are hiding in this very city right now. That's the entire reason for this whole lockdown, so that the city guards can search every house and see if anyone is hiding the murderers. The king's brother was killed in Thelius? I asked, feigning ignorance, but how did he find out about this? You really need to ask, teleporter guy says. There is only one person to represent the king in Thelius and who would have been there to witness the events. You mean, yes, the teleporter guy is the ambassador from Thelius has returned. Fucking hell, that is so fucking OP. It was so much fun. I see that you finally returned, the king of the underground says in an offhanded manner, where he sees us walk into the waiting room of the rebel base. I see that you finally returned, the king of the underground says in an offhanded manner, when he sees us walk into the waiting room of the rebel base. He's currently busy reading a report from one of his men while standing next to the base's entrance. He's only paying minimal attention to you. Before I get to answer him, the king cuts me off with a sudden question that takes me completely by surprise. Should I take it that you've done negotiating with the overseer? He says in a casual tone, while still not taking his eyes off the sheet of paper in his hands. What are you talking about? I say, but to appear as calm as possible. I thought the meeting with the overseer was scheduled for tomorrow. The king of the underground sighs and he stops Reading his report, he looks me in the eye. Listen, the king says with a very tight expression on his face. The situation is very bad at the moment, so I'm not really in the mood to play games with you and your group. I'm going to tell it to you straight. I've been suspecting that you would go see the overseer behind my back ever since our very first meeting. That's why I made sure to have Brain and accompany you on your little trip. I wanted to have an insurance that your private negotiations would not result in any negative consequences of the people of the city. Brainan, Kate says with a furrowed eyebrow. I didn't lie to you, I swear, Brainan tells Kate. I haven't spoken a single word with the king about this. You must misunderstand me, Kate. The king says, I did not order Brainan to do anything. He went with you of his own accord, and he was not acting as a spy on my behalf. What tipped me off, in fact, was your behavior towards me. My behavior, Kate says. Yes, the king says. From our very first meeting, I could tell by the look in your eyes that you didn't trust me at all. This wouldn't have been a problem if the healer were your leader, but since you openly stated that you people generally like to take decisions as a group, my intuition told me that it would be highly unlikely for you to ever agree to work together with me and my men. That's why I told Brainan at the end of the meeting that he wouldn't be allowed to go talk to the overseer, and knew very well that this would turn him against me, and that he would most likely end up joining you on your little quest if he saw you heading for the surface. As I'm hearing the king's word, I suddenly remember that I noticed him taking a short glance to his kid at the end of the first meeting. He's a smart fucking king, I gotta say, give him that. Right before he told Brainan that he wouldn't be allowed to come with us to meet the overseer. Did the guys seriously anticipate our actions before we even had a chance to make up our own minds about them? What kind of ridiculous plan was that? Melinda says. You were willing to keep the person who knew the most about the overseer out of the negotiation team simply based on a hunch? What would you have done if your guess turned out to be wrong? Then what if Darren would have convinced us to wait until tomorrow to go with your men to see the overseer? The king shrugs. In that case, I suppose I would have just told Rain and I've changed my mind, that I would allow him to meet the overseer after all, the king of the underground says. Besides, it wasn't just my initial hunch. Every one of your actions since then has done nothing but confirm my suspicion. You never let go of your backpacks, even when we provided you with a room. The Ice Mage has been openly announcing her distrust for me for almost the entire duration of our second meeting. By that time, I was almost certain that you would go meet the overseer by yourself. This is why I came up with a proposition to forge an alliance with you based on necessity, not on trust. An alliance where each of us would be free to backstab the other when it served their interest. Do you remember what I said? Do you remember what I said? That I said this to you, right? So what you're trying to say is that now that it is now your turn to backstab us, Luna says, asked the king. Good heavens, no. The king of the underground says, I'm not planning to do anything to you. Brainan might not be all that loyal to me, but he is most certainly loyal to the people of Hollander. So I couldn't possibly imagine him still being on friendly terms with you if you had tried to hurt our people in any way. Given that he is not saying anything, I'm going to assume that at the very least you are not working against the interest of our people. That is good enough for me. After all, your healer friend has been working tirelessly to save my men's life in the quarantine zone ever since he came here. So it would be an insult to him if I were to treat any of you as my enemies. Does that mean that you're not going to ask us what we discussed with the overseers? Okay, it says, obviously I'm still going to ask you that question, the king says, but you're free to not answer me if that is your decision. So are you going to tell me that what were the results of your negotiations with the overseers? Sure, we'll tell you for a price. I don't necessarily know what would they even offer us. What the fuck am I even asking? I mean, there's no point of asking gold or anything, so I don't understand what the price exactly is. We are using their base and whatnot, so I suppose that we owe them at least that much. So we'll tell them what the overseer discussion was. I honestly don't remember what the discussion was actually. I mean, the cat's out of the bag already, so I guess we might as well tell you. I'm all ears, the king says. Please go on. Please go on. Well, there isn't a lot to talk about really. I say the overseer basically tipped us off that the king of Hollander has been doing many trips outside the palace lately, and that we could predict where he'd be going next by identifying the scouts and following them. He said that by using this information we could set up ambushes in order to more easily assassinate the king. The problem is that the overseer told us all of this before the king ordered the citywide lockdown, so any info that we got about the king's previous schedule might have already become irrelevant by now. Yes, I suspected that this might have been the case. The king of underground says, so I'm thankful for your honesty. The situation is not bad enough as it is. So it's good to know that at least I won't have to also worry about you hiding any crucial information from me. I recommend that you all go get some rest because tomorrow is likely going to be a busy day. We'll talk again in the morning. "My king, is there anything I can help you with?" Brennan says, "Well, you could begin by taking some of these reports off my hands." The king of the underground says. He points at the men standing next to him, who is holding a stack of papers. "Start with the ones at the bottom. Those should be easy enough for you to understand even without knowing the layout of the city by heart like I do. We need to evacuate as many people as we can by sunrise, so you'd better be ready for another sleepless night. We are going to be here for a while." "I understand," Brennan says, and then he grabs a paper from the stack. We leave the king and Brennan behind, and we begin heading for the tunnels leading outside our sleeping quarters. As we make our way across the waiting room, we walk past quite a few group of refugees that are each being directed towards a different section of the rebel base by the king of underground's men. It looks like they are having a bit of trouble finding enough room for all these people, because they are sending a lot of them to the mess hall for the night instead of the sleeping quarters.